Hey Internet, this is Andrew with the Knights of the Drunk Watch, and I'm here with my friends of the Knights. We're here to talk about Lovecraft Country, Season 1, Episode 2, Whitey's on the Moon. And so we have joining with us this week, Jacob is back. Hello, Jacob. Say hello.
What's up, everybody?
And Kate and Thomas.
Hello.
And then we have Zach Baxter, who will fill you in on anything you need to know.
So what you need to know is you need to subscribe to this channel to get updates. We post new videos like this wonderful video happening right now. Also, if you want exclusive content, head over to our Patreon and give us a couple of bucks. There you go.
All right. So with that, we are the Knights of the Drunk Watch. And now our talk begins. So the first thing, we'll just talk about Braithwaite Lodge. So who are the Braithwaites? Are they devil worshippers? Are they witches? Are they both? Yes.
They're very white and pale, though. It's very true. And they've got eyes like the light eyes. Aryan. Super duper Aryan.
Yeah, I got that was...
paid extra for that.
Yeah, I got that they were alluding to being like the Aryan look. I thought that was very interesting. I guess they're just like religious zealot witches? Occultists?
So they're not witches, because the history we heard in episode 1 is that this county wasn't known for the witches, but it was known for the witch hunters. So these people were like technically aligned with good, but like with all things, you could tell if you hunt witches, what do you need to know and be able to work against? Fucking magic. So these witch hunters, they took they know what they're doing. They know a spell or two. The whole episode did a good job of comparing these people to, that's why the KKK calls themselves Grand Wizards, their heads and stuff like that. I don't think they're devil worshippers. There's definitely some kind of cultish agenda going on, but to say they worship Lucifer, I think is just wrong.
So what you're saying, though, then, that witches aren't defined by magic use. They were just a different group that the witch hunters went after.
Correct.
Because people use lots of magic in this episode.
Absolutely.
Jacob.
I mean, I would say witches are typically defined by magic, but witches aren't the only ones that can use magic. So there's the whole thing, the Nietzsche thing, those who fight monsters become monsters, that sort of thing. That's paraphrasing, of course. And then it leads into the, if you look into the void, then the void looks back into you. That sort of thing.
Okay.
All right. So, of course, chief among the Braithwaites is Samuel Braithwaite, Tony Goldwyn. Looking good at 60.
Good for him. I'll drink to him.
Damn.
Yeah.
I'll drink to him.
He could still play Tarzan.
And then we have his daughter Christina and her boy toy or friend William. Do we think we'll see Christina and William again?
Oh, hell yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so.
I mean, they're too interesting.
Well, can I expand upon that? The whole time.
Well, I mean, because the first thing, before you do that, Thomas, I'll mention that I took a note on is that we spent a lot of time with Christina and like being there for her first time birthing a monster.
Yeah.
And they made a big deal out of that. That seems to elevate her presence in the story. Why waste time on that in this episode if she went down with the house?
Yeah.
And then William was kind of working against Samuel, so he isn't really part of the bad crew that got all turned to salt. So, Thomas.
I think it was very much, this was a setup. What we saw, we were all just like Tick and Letitia and Uncle George. We were also blown away by the magic of it all. We had a hard time seeing what was really happening behind the scenes, which was, this was an out with the old, in with the new. I feel very much the big climax, which we can talk about later, and how it turned out for everybody in the Order of the Ancient Dawn. Well, I very much feel this was a setup, and again, out with the old, in with the new being Christina Braithwaite and her boy toy, who again said something to Atticus and Uncle George when they were taking a dinner. he was mentioning they were getting a lot of looks from the other old white men at the dinner. And William said, just because they don't want you here doesn't mean you don't belong. Like his thinking is not in line with the rest of these, elders in the order.
Yeah.
All right, so there's a lot of symbolism in this episode with the Braithwaites. The liver as a symbol of eternal life.
Mm-hmm.
The liver is like the one organ that regenerates itself, right?
Who is his fucking surgeon in the 50s to where he got half his liver taken out and just popped up off the table and was like, let's go to dinner? Like, who is that hooded surgeon?
He has healing magic, remember?
Yeah.
They
got magic.
That's impressive.
And then we also have the biblical imagery of Adam, the Garden of Eden, and of course, Samuel turned into a pillar of salt. Mm-hmm. The rest of his crew just turned into salt.
Most importantly, the dick snake.
The snake.
And the dick snake, yeah. I have the last temptations of our heroes, yes.
We saw like a parallel to the poem, like the terrible poem that he mentioned in the first one, where like they place black people above the beast but beneath humans. Like we still get that thread through what Samuel was talking about of like everybody in their place. Like we keep getting these, like, even Thomas missed the comment about the grizzly bears versus black bears. Like Thomas meant that she said, oh, but the blacks, like he missed that comment the first time around. It's like,
I mean black bears being a metaphor for black people, right?
Oh yeah. But she quickly dropped the bears real quick and just continued to call them the blacks. And he also like said that Adam put everyone in their place, and he, just there, it is never left, it's never even left unsaid. He even says like, you have his blood, though somewhat tainted, I'm sure. But, just continually like leaving that thread of he is having to fight against like society no matter where he is, in a tiny village in the middle of a forest.
With bloodline.
Yeah, with the bloodline.
Yeah.
Painted bloodline.
Okay, and so then the last comment about this whole Braithwaite Lodge setting is that it came and went pretty fast.
Yeah.
It's like, boom. Not a central
I was really
location,
surprised by that.
Yeah.
at least as far as we know.
I for sure thought this was going to be 2 or 3 episodes in the house. Yeah.
Yeah.
But and I do wonder if we also were introduced to a lot of different actors that seemed featured. Tony Goldwyn, chief among them. Also, as I now call her, even though she's not old, I called her Old Crone in honor of the Christmas night. The sheriff dog woman, like, Old Crone,
Dog lady. Okay.
dog lady. I wonder if it's going to be a little bit like American Horror Story, if we kind of have an anthology following these people, if the actors will come back and play different characters.
I mean, I could see that.
Or not be dead, but or gone.
Right.
But
I mean, she only got bashed in the head. I mean, that would suck.
Yeah, she
for
could
sure.
not be. Oh yeah, she did not dissolve into pillar of salt, so she could definitely come back as the dog lady.
There's magic involved. Anybody can come back.
Yeah,
True.
That's true.
Especially since one of the more famous things that Lovecraft created was the Necronomicon.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And they mentioned it in this episode, but they didn't actually talk about it.
Well, and yet necromancy is definitely a big thing. The movie Reanimator, who a lot of people are a fan of, lifted straight from H.P. Lovecraft's work.
Herbert West, Reanimator.
But Andrew, you brought up a very interesting point about an anthology, and I think we're already getting that. Each episode is kind of its own, if you will, mini story, you know? And based on what we saw for the preview going on to the next episode,
it looks buck wild and completely different again. It seems to be
changing the setting, and they keep, each thing is a different thing. And we got, if you will, in the first one, we were just gotten introduced about a mystery, and they have to go on a journey. And I'd say the monster, the monsters in the woods, that was that part of the anthology. This one, we get a weird witch hunting cult of Adam, with a house falling down after some ritual that just went.
Anyway,
I believe it did not go as planned.
Well, it was too powerful.
And then I'm sure next week will be something, completely different. Again, it'll be connected. But just like it feels like the source material stories all exist and come from the same universe, I think that's what they're doing with the episodes of the show, so that it doesn't stay in one place and get bogged down and bored, which I don't think it could happen at this point.
All right, so real quick, go on, let Zach speak, because I mentioned Montrose's jailer, as I called her, the old crone, and Zach nails the literary reference, Count Monte Cristo.
Yeah, I just guessed that. That was a guess.
Yeah, well, but you nailed it. You nailed it, and it wasn't even like we had to figure it out that you're right. They just went, Count Monte Cristo. He did a whole.
I wonder if they're going to follow the same thing with the mom too, because the mom is still, I guess, the biggest mystery now in the whole show. The 2 episodes we've had, we found Dad in episode 2, which I was like, okay, cool.
I knew we were getting him so fast.
And so I guess Mom.
It was in all the. Well, Mom's dead, but we've already gotten Mom.
Yeah, wasn't she the ghost?
She was the ghost.
George?
But absolutely. Then they talk about
hold
him?
Please.
Okay.
Hold please. Moving on to the next topic, Atticus's family. First question, is Dora Atticus's mother?
Yes, 100%.
Yes.
Absolutely. Because unless it was part of the preview, they even talk about like, oh, we said we'd never talk about him being your son and not my son, but like George has fallen in love too much with Tick now, so he wants them to be father, son, and he was always in love with Dora, I guess. And she even hints at to say like you could fly with your children. Like he only has the daughter at home, I'm pretty sure, but Tick is also his child, so he has children. Yes, that is Tick's mother. She's lovely.
So second question, is George really Atticus's father?
Yes.
Seems heavily implied.
Yes. And it's going to be in that Book of Life or Book of Death.
And then the second to last question, has Montrose always been a dick?
Yes.
It seems that way, yeah.
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 We know that from like the explanation of George saving Montrose from being beaten, but not saving Tick from Montrose beating him. Like we know that this is his history. He's a dick. He's an abusive, angry man. That's why Tick left.
Okay, and then final question of the family. So, I mean, Hannah saves Atticus from Samuel's ritual.
Mm-hmm.
You know, basically.
Hannah?
He sees Hannah, his ancestor, who was Braithwaite's slave. He sees her on the other side of the portal through the Garden of Eden and inspires him to break the spell and then follow her out of the house.
I mean, yeah, it could be a ghost or just like him channeling through her, like through that bloodline, up through the bloodline. I mean, he broke the spell. So clearly the blood is just as powerful. Or Tick is.
But it was also a portal through time. So I think that maybe the portal wasn't actually working and stopped at the last one. That's how I read it. Because the fire, the portal was made of fire, which is how the house got destroyed the first time. And that's how the house caught on fire, was the experiment went wrong. And the second time, the house was destroyed by Earth or whatever. So that's how, I don't know, that's how I read it, was a time portal. That they were in like a condensed time portal.
Oh, but see, the portal that they were opening was a portal to the Garden of Eden. Yep. So that Samuel could step through and have eternal life. So I just saw it as, you know, on the other side of that portal, still in our plane, was the spirit or the ghost or the presence of Hannah, which pulled, you know, so that when Tick, you know, broke the, you know, just as she ran out of the burning house, she led him out of the collapse.
I can see it being a combination of the two, to where he's looking through the time portal, it gets stuck at the last stop of the fire where she escaped, and then he breaks it down, but the strength of their connection makes her linger long enough to lead him out.
I thought it was cool the way they shot it. It was cool.
It was cool. I don't think it was a time portal, though. I think the Garden of Eden is a more or less physical place that exists, but probably not in our plane. It probably exists somewhere else. So it requires the portal to actually reach. Otherwise, you could just go there.
So can I ask a question? Go ahead.
Because she stood there a long time waiting for him to reach out to her. So it wasn't like he was seeing her escaping from the fire through time. She was presenting herself to him.
But the looks that we always saw, what Tick was seeing, she was always near what seemed to be the front door of the house.
Yeah.
The only thing that was like amazing to me was like, oh, okay, the first time the lodge burnt down, an experiment went wrong. They tried to open the door, something didn't go right, the whole place comes down. It was rebuilt years later, and then this second time, in whether you want to call it a time portal, space and time portal to the Garden of Eden, whatever it was, I thought it was interesting that like the first event kind of caused this second event, or was, something was responsible for, happening again. It's like everything just keeps moving in one big circle when you get into time travel and stuff like that. I thought that was a really good use of a overly used trope, but very well done here.
So I guess, can I ask a question about Hannah real quick? We don't have to answer it, but I'm curious to know if maybe she brought some African magic with her, and that's why Daddy, Papa, Grandpapa was like, had kids with her, or was he trying all the slaves? I'm just curious to know what makes
back into that American Gods shit.
Yeah.
Well, the only thing we know is that the Braithwaites had the power. The Braithwaite line has the power.
Right.
And so by sleeping with Hannah, with his slave, he created a black bloodline that had that power. That's all we know.
Right.
I believe.
Correct. But there was that black. There was a black magic that came out of the ring that surrounded the gold magics. That's why I thought maybe it was two different magics working against each other.
I felt like the breaking it. Like that was him. That was his power taking over and making.
Oh, see, I thought that was like his arm becoming like the garden was crawling up his arm, and he was gonna be sucked into the garden as like a tree, and be made part of the garden.
Vines did come out.
Vines came out of the portal.
That power was destroying the vines, though. That power killed the vines.
Back, yeah.
His power.
Like the black energy that was coming out of the ring was killing the vines. That ring is tainted. Like
it was beginning to envelop him, and then if he'd let it continue, it would have enveloped him.
Yeah,
instead, he broke it. That's what I saw.
It's something to do with the ring. The ring.
And again, it was a setup because who gave Tick the ring?
Christina.
But I think the ring
is probably actually true.
No, the ring was part of the ritual. She gave him the idea that if he'll see a moment, he can seize it and win.
I'm just making
the ring was part of the ritual.
I'm just making the point that if somebody wanted to fuck up the ritual and they had intimate knowledge about it, which Christina clearly does, and resents her father for not being able to be a part of this order again when she is clearly gifted, talented, more so than possibly her father. We can't really say that.
But she snapped that spell off of Letty
so
and George.
We already know she excels. She would have the knowledge. She would have the means, the motive, the opportunity. And, it very easily could have been she switched the ring with something. But again, we don't have enough details to say,
episode 2.
The ring could have easily just been a membership ring.
Right.
Yeah,
and just everybody that has
it could have been a membership ring that had been cursed or had a spell on it. That's all I'm saying. Again, I feel like the failure of everything that happened at the end of the episode was all according to somebody's plan, just not Samuel's plan.
See, I think it's great imagination, but I don't think you need that much imagination, Thomas. I think, he had the ring. I can't remember who put it on him, but Christina said something along the lines of, you'll see an opening, take it. So I think Tick had all the power to break the spell and destroy it. The ring didn't have to be the source of that. Tick was the source of that.
But Christina did give Tick the ring when after Letty got shot and George got shot, Tick was being wiped down naked. She walked into the room, sat down. I believe she was playing with the ring and then gave it to him.
That is what happened.
Again, I think it was part of the ritual. Right. I think if she was going to,
they all had that ring.
If she was going to trick out the ring, they wouldn't.
We'll find out.
It's just a theory.
They did all have that ring. Even in the painting, that ring existed.
He was only wearing two things. He was wearing a robe and the ring. So
it's episode 2. We'll find out.
You can obviously see that the the tendrils were coming from the ring, not him.
Are you saying enchanted robe right now? I love it.
Right.
Okay, so Kate, do you have anything else that we didn't talk about?
Well, I want to talk about. Are you done?
I have one more topic left.
I learned a new thing. I didn't actually research it at all, but Prince Hall Freemasons. I didn't know that was a thing. If it is,
I didn't know that either.
I just like to bring up the stuff that we didn't learn about because.
Yeah, Uncle George really kind of helped school everybody at that meeting. That was fun.
Uncle George.
Yeah, and we had like we just real quick, we had like other, as we were going along, we were like, is it because they indulged that they didn't remember? So I like that they like gave us a mystery and then it immediately gave us the answer pretty quickly. Like it's nice to have answers.
The Jeffersons opening.
Yeah.
That was good.
Okay, so, all right, so the show is 50% J.J. Abrams. Death does not mean you are gone or even dead.
That's true.
So it'll be interesting to see.
And we know there's a Necronomicon somewhere, so.
And there's that.
I have, and you know, good on all of them. 2 episodes in, and George's death brought me to tears.
Me
like,
too.
I was in tears. Like, I've known this gentleman for a full 120 minutes. And it was, and Thomas also said it, like, it was, 1, they set him up lovely and it was fine. But also, 2, like, Tick's reaction, Leon Bridges singing in the background, like, just all of it was so well done.
Mm-hmm.
We just were watching it as y'all came on, and it was like, oh, no.
It was devastating.
See,
This felt like a season finale for me. It was very strange, but I loved it.
Right?
So and then on the preview again, like I just vaguely remember, like, did Letty get a house? Like she's now got like
she clearly alluded.
I kind of felt like she gets a house on the white side of town.
She
so
is
once
like,
again,
we're again,
evil supernatural white people are coming after our heroes.
But it is just such a weird, like, maybe it is an anthology because we get like journey road trip through the woods, then we get castle story, and now we're like new life, like we're happy and we're loving it and we're living our lives.
Lovecraft was a short story writer, wasn't he?
Yes. Yeah,
So.
the longest thing that he wrote was probably the Call of Cthulhu, or maybe At the Mountains of Madness, I believe.
Yeah.
And even those are only maybe like 40 or 50 pages long.
Wow. Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. I don't think he can claim this as like the first person to do it, but there very much is a shared universe in his work, which is what I feel each of these episodes are.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, they occur in the same thing. We're following the same characters, but you get these little glimpses into these terrible, monstrous, evil things that are everywhere, and they all have their own unique place in this world, and we get to explore each one a little bit.
We're getting a little bit more info about Tick's Korea life,
Mm-hmm.
like his
PTSD.
last temptation, his PTSD, and he even started to admit something, and then George was like, "We don't need to know."
Shut that down real quick.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sure that will come back.
Oh,
Yeah,
And there's still the person he called in Korea.
right.
So.
Which now I wonder if that was like
Ghost
family
call.
member of someone he killed and regrets. I don't know. Or ghost.
All right, so I guess that covers everything.
this is a great show. This is an amazing show.
It's
Yeah.
so good.
I can't. I don't know what's going to happen.
I want to defend Montrose real quick. Everybody was saying he's an ass and all that. The man just single-handedly, Count of Monte Cristo, himself out of Braithwaite Manor's dungeon. You get to be a little pissed when people just show up like, "Oh, hey, Montrose, what are you doing here?" I'd be pissed too.
But he's pissed in a way of like, why are you here?
Because he just tunneled the fuck out all by himself, and they thought it'd be funny. Hey, let's go wait for
save him.
Montrose in the field.
I'm actually really curious how they figured out where he was going to exit the tunnel.
Where the
I
hands
guess
come
based
up.
on the direction in the wall.
Well, I mean, let's say that they knew which direction the tunnel went, and maybe they were just walking it, and he didn't dig very far, quite frankly. So,
I mean, they took the time to go and get the car and be waiting for him. So
Yeah.
they could have been hanging out for a good half an hour. Apparently, they stole the special silver car, and then they
Yeah,
fucked
but
it
he
up.
was probably more than halfway down the tunnel, so it would have been more effort.
but if he had said, also he said that, how stupid are you? What, to follow a letter that they forced me to write? Well, I mean, so it still shouldn't have been that big of a surprise that they showed up. I mean, it's like, okay, you wrote the letter.
Yeah,
even though they forced you to write it in a certain way, you still got a letter sent to your son saying, "Come save me."
He's a dick.
Yeah, he's a dick. He's a dick.
I mean, maybe you're thinking more likely than not he'll blow it off, but the fact that he didn't shouldn't be like a huge what the fuck moment.
Yeah.
All right. So with that, we are the Knights of the Drunk Watch.
And
now
our talk has ended.
Has ended.